Hello and welcome to the Content Catalyst. I'm Deb Szabo, and in this episode, I want to talk to you about video marketing. What is it and how can it help your business? So, I'm an online marketing specialist. I have been in marketing for many, many, many years. And when the digital age came about, I guess being a bit of a tech nerd, I dove headfirst straight into it. I was the first person in my office building to ask for a computer many years ago when I worked in radio, because I wanted to send proposals to clients and do it a different way to everybody else. So I asked our sound guy, our tech guy, to set up a computer for me, and I then bought a computer at home so I could sit down and create proposals, because I'm a visual person, and that's probably why I love video so much, is because I just love the medium of TV. I love the medium of cinema, and it became, I guess, for anyone that doesn't know my background, I worked in radio and in hospitality tourism for many, many years. But when I first started out in radio in my early 20s, it was something that was middle tier, I guess you could say. So if there was a client that you were going to see, it was TV was number one, radio was number two, and then print was number three. And often people would utilize, say, print and TV together. And then if they could afford it, it would be TV and radio together. So the power of storytelling through visual and audio is so powerful. So we are sitting here and I'm talking to you on a podcast, which is kind of ironic of coming now full circle many, many years later back into an audio medium. I am, however, quietly obsessed with visual medium, and that is why my business now really does specialize in video marketing. So I'm an online marketing strategist, I guess you can call me, that I love all things digital and helping people create content online to get visible and grow their business. So how did I sort of merge into like honing and specializing in video? Well, I guess it came from maybe all those years ago of having that quiet envy of people, anyone that worked in TV. I always thought that they had such a better opportunity to get new clients and new business because it told the whole story. It was visual and it was also audio. So it was a great storytelling medium for advertisers. And over the years, from when we've had the development of mobile phones, we've now been able to have a incredible 4K video camera in your back pocket. It makes it so much more accessible and easier to share a story in real time, even using all of those sensors. Now, if we look at our learning styles, there's auditory and visual learners and kinesthetic learners. And for me, using video really does utilize all those senses, because you can create emotion, you can create a mood, you can create a story using video and music and text all at once. So it ticks all the boxes for me. It allows us to demonstrate what we do as well. So I know that I'm talking to you on a podcast here, and you might be out walking or driving in your car, so you can visualize what I'm talking about. However, if you were watching this, you would see a different story, and you'd be able to see where I'm sitting, and you'd start to build a different picture in your head. So video is such a powerful way to demonstrate what we do and make a connection. And really, at the end of the day, and I'll say it all the time, is that people buy from people. People buy when they feel they know you, when they feel like they have a sense of familiarity, and they feel like they're like, yeah, I feel like I can trust what this person's saying. And there's no better way to demonstrate that through people actually seeing what you do. So it helps to create, I guess, an authenticity of what you're telling. And it also helps to humanize a brand as well, because often when we are using, say, print or static posts, for example, it's very stylized and it doesn't always tell the real picture. There's no personality to it. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not here to bag out any other medium. I am not here to, downgrade the power of images or anything like that. They all work complementary. What I mean by that is that each of these forms of communication has different power. And when you use them collectively, they then work on a much higher scope than if they were working alone. So I guess I fell in love with video years ago, and I dabbled in it. It was still, managing. If I was looking after social media for the business that I was with, it was, something that I wasn't always conscious about using first. Often it was a photo that told a story with the caption or the description. Now, I then became, I guess, a few years ago, very aware of the power of video, especially since 2020, when we, really had to extend ourselves to communicate a lot further than what we'd had to in the past. So it was really important to create a human connection. So interesting statistics that I find fascinating as well is that people remember 80% of what they see, 10% of what they hear, and 20% of what they read, according to statistics. So why video is so powerful is because when we see something, we tend to recall it a lot easier. It's the same with smell. And after working many years in the wine industry, when we describe a wine in a tasting note, we go, it might taste of raspberries and plums and pepper or whatever. But really, there are those characteristics in the wine. But when we describe a wine and the individual characters of that particular vintage, of that particular variety, and of that particular style of how the winemaker's made it, it will trigger different senses and the age of the wine as well. So I can close my eyes and I think, okay, that smells of licorice and pepper. In fact, pepperberry. And that happened to me the other night at an industry function. Now, where did I get that from? It was recalled from my memory. So somewhere in my memory, I remember smelling pepperberry when I was in Tasmania, and I was able to refer that back to the smell of the wine. So that's why using different senses really does create a powerful impact when you are wanting people to remember who you are, what you do, and how you are different and how you make them feel as well. So when we're using video marketing, I guess there's 3 parts to my framework that I talk about. And one is capturing content to create a connection, because when you can create that connection, that's when the conversion happens. That's when the referral happens. That's when people are inclined to buy. And if I look at the life cycle, when people start out, and I'll use this especially with social media, people might be using social media now for their business and they've put up a photo. Okay. And they put up an image and they go into Canva and then they create a carousel. Okay. So that's nice. That's good, but it doesn't humanize what you do. It is very one-dimensional. So we want to bring the extra dimensions in there. So when people go, oh, I've tried video, it took me a long time, or it didn't really work. That's when they're not understanding that full life cycle of how people engage and then buy. So it starts by initially with brand awareness. And I talk about this with how we get discovered. Being highly visible is how we get discovered. And from being highly visible and getting new clients and getting clients and customers and members, then we have an opportunity to have recommendations and referrals. But it starts with brand awareness. So brand awareness is that first step in the circle of how people buy from you. And it used to be, and I'll refer back to working in radio many, many times, people needed to hear your message 4 times in order to act, in order to buy. Now, it's said that it's 7, but it's actually closer to 20. So people need to be influenced by your product and seen it and heard it and felt it and experienced it 20 times before they're likely to buy. Now, that also depends on where they are in the buying cycle as well, because brand awareness, you can have your product out there and be talking about it for a year and some won't act on it. But when they are in the market for your product or service, if you've got strong brand awareness, you are the first person they come to. You are the first person that they recommend. So brand awareness starts as the number one thing. So then from there, where do we move to when we are showing up consistently? Then we move to creating connection. So it's really important that our content, no matter what style it is, no matter if it's an image or a carousel or a video or a podcast or an email, creates a connection. It creates conversation. It creates a community. So we want to think, let's say for social media, we want to turn those followers into a community, into real conversations. And so by creating a connection, by creating content that people are interested in, we can start to feel that they will comment and they will start to interact and they'll start to leave a message. They'll start to share. They'll start to take notice. And that's when we start to see that increased engagement. If people are leaving you comments and sharing it or replying in DMs, that's when we see engagement. And when that happens, you then move into that next cycle of increased loyalty. Now, they may not have purchased anything from you ever before, but they have a familiarity with you. They are starting to build a relationship with you. And the more you show up, the more you give valuable information and inspire and educate with people, the more they'll feel connected to you and the more that they'll want to engage with you. So then when we get to that loyalty, when you actually then get to a point where you are offering something that appeals to them at the right time and the right place, that's when there is a lead that gets generated. That's when action then begins to happen. And that's when they are then going to refer you to other people, even if they're not in the market for that particular item themselves or service or product. And then when we create that next step, that's when you start to drive traffic to your website. So we're on the home run, like we're up to like third base now. So to get from third base to home, we want to look at how do we increase website traffic and then how do we improve our conversion. And that, again, comes from, let's say somebody's on that awareness program with you on social media. They're on the sidelines, they're commenting, they're engaging, they're asking for your lead magnets. They've even joined your email list and they're getting your emails. That then conversion happens when you are offering the right product at the right time for them. And they feel that they trust you and they know that that service is right and that you've communicated that effectively, that they need to have it, not just want to have it. So that's where video, and especially using video on your website, really helps that conversion. It's like holding their hand. So often when we get to a point of wanting to buy, and I'll use some shoes, right? So I had my eye on these pair of shoes. I came across this website. They were in Italy. And oh my God, these were gorgeous shoes. And I eyed them off and I eyed them off. And every time I just jump on the website and think, oh, when can I buy these? And I'd watch them from the sidelines. And then when I was in the position to buy them, I'm like, I'm all in. But I get to the website, I'd put it in the checkout, and then I jump out. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I had the money in the bank, but why didn't I buy? So sometimes having that person standing beside you to go, yep, you're making the right decision. Yep, we're going to post it there. And that's why reviews are really important on your website as well, and testimonials, because they help hold that person's hand to go, yep, you're making the right decision. Now, because I was buying shoes from Italy, I'm there going, well, how long is it going to take? Are they trustworthy? Are they actually going to ship my shoes if I spend all this money and I'm, buying these shoes in euros? So that's what you've got to ask yourself. What are the key points that trigger somebody to that next step? And having that reassurance, such as having video testimonials or even text, like written testimonials, will really help that power of conversion as well. And then also you talking about you're making the right decision. Having a video on your sales page will also help people feel like they're making the right decision. It is literally the next best thing to standing in front of somebody. So if we are at that point then that we've purchased, the next step is that post dissonance. So the next step is going, oh my God, have I made the right decision? Oh my God, did I do the right thing? Oh no, I've got to explain it to my other half. Okay, so that's where it's actually more important even to have that next stage of communication with them to go, hey, it's okay. We've got this. You made the right decision. I'm holding your hand and we're going to get you there to the end of it. So when you actually get that service or product in your hand, you go, yep, I know that was the right course I needed to buy. Yep, I know that was the right pair of shoes that I needed to buy. So what are some of the ways that we can hold people's hand after they've purchased? Well, if you've attended one of my webinars, you would have received an email from me, a little video email that says, hey, how you going? Thanks so much for joining me. If you'd like to know more about my course, for example, here's more of the details. And just by having that personal outreach to that person, it really does make it feel like I care. And I do care. I care a lot, which is why I take the time. Even if I've got 30 people in my webinar, I will take the time after that webinar and I will sit down and I will message every one of those 30 people because they matter. They are all individual customers that need individual attention. Now, I've worked in sales for many years and I've worked out on the road, knocking on doors, cold calling. And I would go out and do 4 to 6 calls, 10 calls, appointments a day. Now, each one of those people, I didn't know whether they were going to buy it. I was prospecting and then I would present to them and then I would hold their hand through the process of actually, when they did buy, of making sure that product was delivered in the way that they wanted it. So that's why I say take the time out to follow up and take the time out to send those people a personal message, because it will make a huge impact in your conversion, but also when they have purchased, to know that they've made actually the right decision. So I guess that is where I'm going to wrap it up for this particular episode of talking about video marketing and the process behind what that looks like when you're holding people's hand from the beginning of brand awareness right through to after they've purchased, on how video can help with that process. If you'd like to know more and you need a marketing strategy, and in particular a video marketing strategy or a social media marketing strategy, then reach out to me and you can book a discovery call, a free discovery call. We'll jump on the call for a half an hour and we'll go through your business needs and we can identify what the opportunities are and how we can help with that process of creating a connection with your audience. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.